Yes.
Hi, church. We are back for another installment of our Midweek Encouragement videos. And this week, I have with me our worship minister, our director of worship arts. What did we call you? What's
Worship arts coordinator.
Worship arts coordinator, Nikki Wiarda. Say hi, Nikki.
Hi, everybody.
So we're going to talk a little bit about worship. We're going to talk a little bit about the outdoor praise and worship nights that I mentioned in the sermon from Sunday, and hopefully be able to give you some more details about what that's going to look like, and hopefully get you excited about it. But the first thing I want to ask is this. Every singer has a face, like a singing face. Do you have a singing face? And do you like your singing face? And would you recreate your singing face for us today?
There's no need to recreate it. If anybody wants to see it, they can watch all of the videos in which I make the singing face. But yes, there is one. It involves some crumpling of the eyebrows here, which is why I think I've noticed like those lines starting to form a little bit more.
That's ministry.
Yeah.
That's ministry.
I believe that.
So if you won't recreate your singing face, will you recreate the face you make when you see your singing face?
I'm usually I sit on my couch and I watch and I don't.
Okay.
Like this.
That's your face.
And maybe there might be some like that
okay.
weird face again.
All right. Well, Now we've got the fun stuff out of the way. Okay. So re-entering worship services, that's been a big deal.
Yes.
We've been talking about it. We've had a committee talking about it. We've talked about it as staff. We've had elders talk about it. We really have gotten to a place where we feel like maybe we're not really prepared for that yet as far as entering indoor worship services. And I think an aspect of that a lot of people don't think about and don't realize plays such a huge role, at least our decision. I can't answer for other churches. I can only answer for us. But a lot of people say, well, you can social distance this way. Well, social distancing hasn't been our issue. And some people have talked about, well, if you did communion this way, or maybe if we don't do communion, communion hasn't really been our issue. Like, we've talked through all those things. We've had ideas for how those things can work. Really what we've wrestled with has been singing. And some people are in the know and have read about this, and they've shared it in their surveys. But singing is a big deal, and there's a lot of people out there suggesting that we really take seriously the risk involved in singing indoors in large groups of people. So why don't you, as our worship minister, talk for a little bit about the role that singing played in our decision making, but also just what you know from the studies that you've done.
Yeah. So I never thought I would be at a place in my life where I could say that singing may be detrimental to your health. I have sung my whole life. That is what I've done. I grew up in a Church of Christ, and in our heritage, right, we sing. That is an important part of what we do when we get together. So before ministry, I taught music, and so I still have lots of friends that are in that area. And when at the beginning of May, when we were starting to learn a lot more about how the virus spreads, a lot of my friends were referencing articles shared by, these are two organizations that I trust because I was a member of them, or one of them, the National Association of Teachers of Singing, called NATS, and the American Choral Directors Association, ACDA, two groups of professionals who probably have more skin in the game than a lot of people on making sure that we can sing, making sure that singing is safe. And they had done a lot of research on that very thing, about what it is like when you sing in a corporate setting, when you sing with other people, in indoor spaces especially. And we know that there are some documented cases. So the outbreak in it was either Oregon or Washington, one of those two states, there was a choir held a practice in which they stayed there. They kept their 6 feet apart, and they weren't touching their other things. They were doing all of the things that they were supposed to be doing, and still a large percentage of the choir got it, and several of the choir members actually lost their lives because of it. So we know from lots of things like that, if you just Google church singing coronavirus, you're going to find out, you'll see a lot of this research yourself, but we also know from other places around the world that there have been lots of different outbreaks have been centered or started in church settings in which people, even if they were adhering to the 6 feet social distancing thing, still caught the virus. A lot of that is because of what it's like when you sing. When we're just speaking, I'm not speaking with the same force. I'm not speaking with the same breath flow and all of that. And so now when we do that, we have when you're singing, you have more air. You do more air. It's more movement. Most people sing louder than they speak, and so that the spread of just 6 feet, while we can be sitting here without a mask and feel okay, is different when you're singing. The best science that I've seen on it has said it's generally, if you're going to be singing, you want to keep at least 15 to 20 feet of space between you. But even then, there's a thing that happens, and I don't know all of the science behind it, but you aerosolize certain particles when you sing in a way that you don't when you speak, similar to what you do when you cough or you sneeze, and that hangs around in the air a lot longer. So even if you were still 15 to 20 feet apart, there's a potential that your germ spread goes even further than that. And in an indoor setting, as opposed to an outdoor setting, where the air conditioning or heating or whatever time of the year it is circulating it, it has the potential to really be a super spreader situation. So that's kind of where we're at. Outdoors, the risk is negated somewhat because there's more places for the air to go. It's not just sitting in the same spot.
It's not recycling.
Right. Mm-hmm.
We're not breathing kind of the same room air.
Yeah.
So, again, this is not about other churches, right, and we can't answer for them and stuff, but for us, we were exposed to this information, and we felt like we needed to take it seriously. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of people haven't thought about that aspect of it. When they're like, well, we can get together and we can stay 6 feet apart, or we can do whatever. And we've thought through all those things, and we can make all that stuff work. It was the singing thing. Yeah. How do we do the singing thing? And
there seems to be little indication that masks, unless maybe it was a really tight fitting N95 mask that none of us have, that even if you were to wear a mask, that doesn't necessarily stop it like it does when we're speaking. Yeah.
And so, with that, we kind of toyed with the idea of, well, let's just do a normal Sunday morning service, but let's do it outdoors. And then we got to thinking about, it's July almost, and do we want to be sitting outside in the hot air and the morning sun, setting up all the equipment? It's just got to be a big thing. And so that's kind of where we got to the point of okay, right now we're not ready. Right now we don't feel prepared to be able to do a Sunday morning service and do it safely, but also in a way that's meaningful. Which is where the idea of the outdoor praise and worship night came together. We know there are people who want to get together.
We want to get together.
We want to get together. I don't know if that's a misconception that people think that we're right, being slow because we don't want to get back together. We want to get back together, but we want to do it right. And so we had this idea for the outdoor praise and worship night. It was not going to be a replacement for Sunday morning worship. This isn't going to be something where we try to do all the things that we would do in a normal Sunday morning service we're not going to take communion and all that stuff, but we did want a chance for people to get together for a season and worship together. And so we came up with this idea, you and I talked about it, to do the evenings when it might be a little cooler, have an outdoor praise and worship time. And so that's what I announced on Sunday. Why don't we talk a little bit about what that's going to look like? First of all, what time it's going to be, all that stuff, because I know people want to know that. But then let's talk about, what do we expect people to do? What do we want them to bring to be a part of it? What precautions are we going to set up? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So biggest thing, we're going to start them at 6 p.m. That's late enough that hopefully not all of the heat of the day will be gone, but a lot of it will be dissipated.
This Sunday.
This Sunday, 6 p.m. this Sunday. We've got a sound system that we're dusting off to get ready to use. We're going to do it in the back of the building, kind of along the side of the teen wing. There's a nice big hill. People can spread out more than 6 feet. You're going to want to be at least 10 to 15 feet apart from other groups that you're not in a circle with, whatever that means, but not in your circle. It'll be a blended service. We have an a cappella team and an instrumental team. We know that there are people who love praising our great, awesome God with both styles of music, so we wanted to make sure that we had both offerings. Yeah. There'll be some time of prayer and sometimes a devotional thought. You get to do that, right?
Yes.
We'll get to sing together. I can't tell you how many people I had talked to that when I was talking with them about the possibility of maybe we go back without singing, they said, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point of even going back if we can't sing yet? And so this ticks that box in a way that nothing else we could do right now, or feel comfortable doing right now would do.
It's the one thing we can't really recreate.
Right.
We talked about this for a few people in the virtual Sunday morning lobby this past Sunday, talking about what we miss. And, we can recreate sermons online, and we can share communion comments and let families take, we can recreate a bunch of stuff, but you can't recreate the energy of a collective body singing praises together.
No.
And so this will help us get that back.
Right.
To some extent.
Yeah, I think there's a reason that is one thing that when it talks about when we gather together in the Bible, there's a reason that it says to keep singing together. There's a bunch of other things that we get to keep doing together, but there's a reason that we are encouraged to continue singing. So this way we can sing, just, in a safer way.
Bring your own chairs.
Bring your own chairs. Bring
blanket if you want to be on the ground. Little mini canopies if they want to bring their own to have a little shade.
Yeah. Or like an umbrella if you feel like you want to not be in the sun. We'll have some space out there for, we know that there are some of you who would love to be involved but still wouldn't feel safe being outdoors, even with all the precautions, like being outdoors with other people singing still won't feel safe. So we'll have some space available for cars that may want, like if you want to park and kind of stay in your car and roll the windows down a little bit and listen, we can do that. The best thing about the outside, I have small children, so I'm always keeping an eye out for this. The best thing about outdoors like that is that there's lots of room for them to move. You don't have to keep them contained in a small little quadrant of space. You can. There's a lot of space in the back for kids to move around and to go. What else? I'm sure there's more.
Bring mask if you want to bring mask. That's we definitely want you to feel comfortable with that. This is going to be for all people, families.
Yep.
So we're not necessarily going to have a separate children's type thing, but it's also so informal that we don't care if children end up running and playing and being together, right? I mean, that's what it means to be family and do this together. And so we just want a very informal time. And a lot of you who have been to our first Wednesday night prayer and praise nights, this is kind of be a recreation of that, only outdoors. We want it to be about a lot of singing. And then, like I said, we're going to have some prayer time and some devotional time. But really, the focus is to get together and praise together.
Yeah.
And we want to encourage you guys to consider your own social distancing and how you're going to do that, and make sure you're staying apart. Respect people and their desires and wishes. Don't assume that somebody wants a hug.
Yes. I want to hug all of you. I do. But because of who takes care of my kids, I have to be really cautious about like how big we let our circle be right now.
Yeah. So we want everybody to be very cautious. We want it to be meaningful and I guess I don't even want to say fun. We want it to be fun and meaningful and all those things, but we still want to be smart about how we carry ourselves. So please keep all that in mind. But yeah, we're going to set up the sound system. We're going to have the praise team and the band and everything together, and then you bring your chairs, your blankets, little canopies or whatever if you want to have that, and set it up and socially distance, and we're just going to praise together.
Yeah.
And we're excited about it. We think it's going to be a nice little stopgap between what we're doing now and when we actually do get to get back together, hopefully, in the next month or so. The 21st, this Sunday. 28th.
July 12th.
July 12th. We're going to take a break on the 5th.
Yes, because it's a holiday weekend and it's a holiday.
Who's going to be here?
Yeah.
We don't know.
I don't know.
So the 12th, and did we say the 19th?
Yes.
Okay, 19th. So those 4 Sunday evenings. Take the 5th out, and then the 2 before that, the 2 after that. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
I know that your team is excited about it, and they're ready to get back together. And I know a lot of people in our church, our missional partners, are ready just to be able to have that experience again of being able to sing all together. Yeah. So I think it's going to be cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
All right. So that's what we have to share with you. We look forward to seeing you Sunday evening at 6 p.m. See ya.